Welcome to the first breakout session for the virtual Parish Summit. My name is Jorge Palacios. I am the Migration Coordinator for Youth Engagement for the Ignatian Solidarity Network. We will get started here in just a minute, but while we get started, I think this is a good time for me to introduce our speaker. Can everyone hear me? Are we good? Awesome, wonderful. Yeah, so like I said, my name is Jorge Palacios. I work for the Ignatian Solidarity, the Ignatian Solidarity Network, particularly on migration justice. And I am very happy to be joined today by Giovanna Nieto, who is the Community Accompaniment Network Coordinator for the Jesuit Refugee Service, USA's Caminar Contigo El Paso Border Project. Thank you so much for joining us, Giovanna. I'm so happy that you get to be here and speak to us about the Migration Accompaniment Network. I think for the session, we'll have you present for probably the first half hour, the first part of it, and then afterwards, as people have questions, we can open it up to sort of Q&A format. So if that works for everybody, we'll get started. Yeah, I can hand it over to you, Giovanna.
Sounds great. Can everyone hear me pretty good? Hola a todos from here at the border. I'm sure a lot of you have seen on the news what the situation looks like right now. We have, I don't know the exact number, but we have an influx of migrants who are facing uncertainty at the moment. They're being housed in shelters here in El Paso, but of course, there's only so much capacity shelters have, and these individuals are now heading out to hopefully trying to head out to their destination cities. So I just wanted to update you all on kind of like the situation. I will share my screen if I can find it right now, like a short video that I took on Monday of what that's looking like, but I'm sure you could find it online or on the news. So thank you, Jorge, for the introduction. Like I said, my name is Giovanna, and I am in charge of recruiting, engaging, and coordinating volunteers for the Migrant Accompaniment Network. So it is a Jesuit effort from our partners at JRS USA to recruit volunteers and parishes, also parish groups. It's kind of like one of our main targets. So all of you, so that we can explain to you the need and then work with you to see if it's something that your parish can organize and would be willing to assist with. So I do want to see if I can share. Yes, I can share my screen. I have this short PowerPoint. I just want to show you all about the program. So you can have like a visual follow along with what I'm going to explain. So the Migrant Accompaniment Network, we call it the MAN for short. It does follow, it's part of the JRS USA efforts of walking with refugees and migrants. And our mission is to accompany, serve, and advocate for the rights of refugees and other forcibly displaced people. We are serving currently in the United States people from Ukraine, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Mexico, Guatemala, Cuba, and so on. So the goal of our broader program, which is located in El Paso, where I am and my colleagues are, is to support the integration process of asylum seekers, refugees, other forcibly displaced people in the U.S. through Jesuit accompaniment. This doesn't mean that we only work through Jesuit accompaniment. We have had partnerships with other Catholic organizations, other religious groups, or other migrant advocacy programs that assist in the same work. The goal of the network is hopefully to recruit parishes and volunteers that we call companions. I'll explain that in the next few slides. So that they can become a human connection for refugees who we call our beneficiaries, and have a friend that is ready to receive them or that can guide them in the city where they are now located throughout the United States. The Migrant Accompaniment Network would not exist. The work we do would not be possible without our partnerships with ISN and KBI, Kino Border. So thank you so much for having me today and giving us exposure and being able to talk to all of you in various parishes that are logged in today. Here's some work that is being done currently here at the border through our team. So we have a Jesuit priest on our team. His name is Father Michael Gallagher, and he is an attorney who offers legal orientations to family groups and individuals in shelters. We also have our manager who is in charge of mental health and psychosocial support, along with a clinical counselor to offer therapy sessions, group sessions to individuals in shelters, either here in El Paso, in New Mexico, which is actually only like 45 minutes away from us here in El Paso, Texas, and down in our sister city in Mexico, which is Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. So those are the shelters that see some of our hands-on work, and also where we get referrals of people who are traveling to other cities, and then we try to accompany them and connect them to resources through our case manager, Mirna, who just started, and she's here on the call. Hi, Mirna. And then, of course, connect them also to volunteers that we have hopefully recruited by then across the United States. Network companions. So this is kind of the pitch that I want to promote today to all of you. So we are recruiting network companions who are our volunteers so that they can be a human connection for recently arrived individuals within their city or their town or their community. I have had people ask me, like, what if I'm not an immigration lawyer? What if I don't have experience working with migrants? How can I help? And I tell them that because you live in the community, you know it better than I can by like Googling resources. So you becoming a guide to local services is like the biggest need that we have for our beneficiaries. And most importantly, that they can offer accompaniment, friendship, and support. And for those of you who have not visited the border or don't really know what it looks like, here's a picture taken from the Mexico side of one of the bridges where you have to show your passport and your documents to get over to the United States, to the El Paso area, which is where you see the buildings and the mountain. Accompaniment services have been offered in over 29 cities in the past year. And here's a list of some of the places where we've been able to connect beneficiaries to in the United States. And we've served over 400 individuals indirectly. So 72 people and their families have gone through our program, and we have matched them with some type of support within the United States. And here's a reflection I like to share. So Sister Stephanie Spandel visited our program and was working here summer of 2021. And at the time, the shelter visits were more restricted than they are now because of COVID. So I think 4 or 5 weeks that Sister Stephanie had for assisting, she felt that they weren't going to be enough for her to make a difference, especially with the restrictions of access to shelters. And this made her feel a little frustrated or discouraged. So she prayed about it one day, and she shares in her blog, what came to me clearly in prayer was the image of Veronica wiping the face of Jesus, so little in the face of his crucifixion, and yet so profound that the story is still told today. I was called to trust that little things matter, that gestures of kindness and compassion do make a difference, that being present and witnessing their suffering matters. So this is something that I like to share and encourage people to think about if they want to sign up for the network. And with their permission, here are some faces of, sorry, I got a little hot taking off my blazer. Here are some pictures of some of the individuals that we have served through the accompaniment network. And now they have relocated into their new cities, are going to school, are working, are learning the language. So I like to share this. Here's my contact information. I will be sharing a sign-in sheet in the chat now, so that if you're interested in learning more, I can have your contact information. So that's some basic information about the network, and I'll be sharing the sign-in Google Doc in the chat. We have worked with church groups before. One example I wanted to share is, okay, there's the link in the chat. So if you would like to sign your name, your email, so I can contact you with more information if you're interested. One example I wanted to share is this church right here. I pulled up their website. So we have worked with Park Road Baptist Church in Charlotte. So a few of their members actually visited the border here through the Encuentro Project with Father Rafael from Sacred Heart Church here in El Paso. And through them, we developed a partnership, and we actually referred a family, and they housed them and they relocated them in Charlotte and have helped them. The mom had a medical condition, so they've been super helpful. And this was only possible because they were a group working together to be able to assist this family. So that's a partnership that I'm very proud of. I'm very happy with how everything turned out for the family who was fleeing persecution from their country. And I won't share their pictures for privacy, but this is just an example of how, when we have worked with a church in the past, it's been super rewarding, not only for us, but for the church group as well. So this is their website. And I don't think I took 30 minutes to present. I do want to share a video of the situation at the border that we're facing right now. I just have to pull that up. But I'm sure a lot of you have maybe seen it online already. One segundo. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now I just have to share my screen. Okay. And this is outside of Sacred Heart Church, which is the Jesuit church here in El Paso. So as we see, there's a huge need, and the need I foresee will keep growing. Can you make the sign up doc editable? Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you. Let me do that. Editing. Okay, it should work now. Sorry about that. I didn't catch that. Thank you. So think now we can turn this more into a discussion, because I'm sure there's maybe like particular questions you all have or doubts of how the program works. So we can do that, Jorge, or I'll follow on with what you had in the agenda, but that's kind of my presentation that I have prepared for now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Giovanna, for sharing. Yeah, I guess we can get started with questions. I I have a question just to get us started, get the ball rolling. So let's say, there's a parish, we'll call it the ISN parish, that is really interested in collaborating with JRS and participating in the MAN. What are sort of the first steps? How does this process work, right?
So there is a sign up process for individual volunteers where we run a background check. However, when we're working with a already organized group, we don't background check everyone. We background check kind of like the leader or the spokesperson that will be the main point of contact for that parish. So the sign up looks like people going onto our website, and then they leave their name and their email, and then from there they receive an application link. And then based on what the application link contains, I reach out to them telling them that they are a good candidate for the network, and then they receive documents and paperwork that they have to fill out, and then they attend an orientation where we kind of just go over cultural awareness, border awareness, answer questions. We go over what to expect, what not to expect. And then we get them started on assigned cases. But if it's a group that has not been like organized yet, then I do foresee us working together more to get that infrastructure ready and organized so that they're ready to receive someone at a large capacity if that's what the church decides to do. But if the group wants to do at a smaller capacity, whether that's donations, transportation only, you name it, then we can kind of get started faster. So the sign up sheet that I would be considering to sending the application and sending more information for this session would be the one that I shared in the chat. So you all wouldn't have to necessarily go to our website and go through that route. I would kind of just reach out to you more individually because we're having like this face-to-face encounter. I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
It does look like we have a question from somebody in the chat. Kate asked, Joanna, are you encouraging presence at the border right now, or are you looking for parishes to be recipients / supporters of migrants that need a place to be?
I would say both, but I think this question, anyone would have a different response depending on who you are. I'm sure like people working at the shelters here would be like, we need more people to come help at the shelters. But then I work in accompaniment and relocating people. So then I would say I would mostly be looking for people to receive people, right? So I think the need is for both. I know there's a volunteer of the network. She's gonna come and assist for 4 weeks at one of the shelters here in El Paso. But I think the answer is both. Both of them are a great need at the moment. But my main role is to recruit parishes so that they can receive individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And yeah, we were just emailing also with Karen. Nice to meet you. Hello. Any other questions anyone might have, or maybe concerns like, how does this work? What is the commitment? I know those are some questions we have and sometimes we're afraid to ask, but totally valid.
Deacon, you have your hand raised. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm curious about the experience at the border. The people that you move, have they already been processed and vetted through the border patrol, and they're just waiting to be displaced somewhere in the country? And what is your relationship with working with the border patrol?
Yeah. So to answer the part of the relationship, I would say we don't really have a relationship. We have in the past worked with a local immigration advocacy center that was doing exceptions for people who had an underlying medical condition or who were pregnant. So we would actually present those people with that exception form at the border to Border Patrol. And it's always been really friendly. They would even I would say even give us VIP treatment and let us cut line and not have to stand in the long line to cross back to the US. But other than that, I wouldn't say we're interacting too much with Border Patrol. And the other question was if the people we are serving are documented. So we are looking only at if we offer assistance with transportation, we make sure that they have documents that allow them to travel. And these documents sometimes only allow them to travel by bus. So we've been buying bus tickets with a small stipend that we have called the Dignity Fund to help people travel to Denver. And it's not a discrimination thing. It's just we have limited resources. So at the moment, our big focus has been women, pregnant women, and women traveling alone with children or people with medical conditions. So that has been more of our priority at the moment. But that doesn't mean that we don't serve men. We have served men. But as far as serving them from El Paso to the rest of the US, I would say that's kind of who we have been helping relocate. And some background on our program, we do case management. I would say maybe more than 100, almost maybe 200 cases come into our desks of people that are already in various cities throughout the United States. And then we help connect them to resources in the community where they are. So we don't always meet people from El Paso. We meet them when they're already in other cities. Michael has another, does that answer your question? Sounds perfect. There's a question in the chat and it says, are there opportunities to directly serve at the border that are short term? Our parish, St. Ignatius in San Francisco, sent teams to Annunciation House in El Paso several times before COVID for 2 weeks. It was valuable and also serve for education. Yes, I think that's a great part of the experience to have that immersion experience. Wondering about the opportunity. I will say yes, but I would have to get in contact with key players of these shelters and see what their recruitment strategy or process is looking like, what the lodging situation also looks like for volunteers. That's something that we would have to kind of investigate more, but I'm happy to connect you to that. Michael, do you have other cities besides Charlotte that you are working with? Yes, and that was in the PowerPoint, I think 29 cities where we were working with either Jesuit network partners or other Catholic organization partners or just other partners who offer assistance to migrants. Do you follow people around the country? Do you have info on how they are doing? We do, but sometimes we lose them, which means they do stop responding sometimes. So that's something we've talked about in the team. We'll meet them and we'll follow them and we'll connect them to services, and then we'll just stop hearing from them sometimes once they've made it to their destination, which alarms us. But at this point, we just pray that they have made it into a good transition. And now that they're starting again, they maybe don't need us anymore, but we do try to follow them. I am interested in receiving more info for short-term opportunities. Yes, I would say that a big plus of our volunteer program is that we offer opportunities for short-term volunteer work. So sometimes people confuse us with a resettlement agency, and people think that they have to have a certain amount of money that they're going to spend on the effort, or they're going to be a sponsor for the family. But that's not always the case. We accept any time commitment or capacity that a companion or the parish group has to offer. So we work with what people have. Any other questions?
It looks like you have a question, Carol.
Yeah, I know that the need for the people coming over the border is huge, but I'm in Portland, Maine, and we have a huge need here for people from Angola and the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, who are coming, the city is sheltering a tremendous number of people right now, and people are having a terrible time finding housing. So I just wondered how your mission might work with that.
Yeah, I think we could help connect existing groups or a group that could be formed in the area and help coordinate that to assist the demographic, obviously, that is already in the area and needs assistance. So I think that would be something we could do. I could send some information, we could meet. But a lot of the work we do with migrant accompaniment is an overlap because we all have the same needs. Like we all have the same exact needs. So we do see that a lot. And I'm going to share the sign-in sheet in the chat again, just to make sure that whoever wants to follow up, we have that contact, that communication. And we make it possible in the future.
Looks like we have a question from Joe.
Yeah. Do you link your accompaniment program with migrants that have come north to be with a family member, an uncle, an aunt, or a friend? I spent a lot of years working in the shelters on the border with Rafael Garcia and Annunciation House.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had most of the migrants we worked with would have someone in the United States that they knew.
Yes.
Many times a relative, or sometimes it would be someone from a nearby village or whatever.
Yeah.
And in typical Latin American hospitality, they were always accepted. So they came up here, but they'd be in situations living with people who themselves were marginalized. So my question is, do you have any way of linking individuals like myself, my wife, and other people with people that are already on their way to live with another family member or with a fellow villager?
Yes, I want to say yes. And it would be a case by case.
Okay.
Yeah, and some backstory, my family, they all immigrated from Mexico, and my cousins and I are first generation, we were born here. But because my family had those structures in place to support each other, when someone would make it, they would have somewhere to sleep, they would have somewhere to work, they would already be able to go to school. But what I'm noticing is that a lot of people who have come to our office, they don't know anyone, they don't have any family.
Mhm.
So we're seeing a lot of homelessness or jumping from shelter to shelter, which I think is really alarming and tragic. But there are cases where someone's already going to meet a family member somewhere, and we could definitely connect you to those other cases, but we're
Okay.
seeing both now, definitely.
Okay, great.
How do you measure progress in your ministry? I saw a question in the chat. So we're a nonprofit, actually, JRS, but the way we measure our progress, we do get feedback from volunteers, and we do get feedback through surveys and just like receiving comments and input from the beneficiaries we've served. We also log a lot of our data. So we log how many people got the legal orientation, how many people received mental health and psychosocial support through us, and then how many people we were able to connect to accompaniment throughout the country. But I would still say it's not enough. The need is too great, which we all know. Also at the bottom of the sign-in sheet, there's a link to the Pentecost prayer for refugees and migrants, organized by our outreach department at JRS USA. So that could be something that you could share with your groups, once you all meet again or circle back.
Wonderful. Do we have any other questions from anybody? Any lingering thoughts? Well, Giovanna, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate hearing about the Migrant Accompaniment Network. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for this session. Yeah, people are more than welcome to stick around, to chat, to sort of be in the space together. Otherwise, our next session is not until 2:30. So I can actually share the schedule. Let me screen share real quick.
A lunch break for everyone, a little extra lunch time.
Yeah. So our next session is at 2:30 Eastern, right? 11:30 Pacific. So in about an hour. Yeah, feel free to take a long lunch break. And then we have two sessions, utilizing the pastoral circle to guide your parish's faith justice work with Father Fred Kammer, and the synodality and parish justice work with Maureen O'Connell. Both of those sessions are very exciting. I personally don't know which one I'll be in. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. If you haven't signed up, left your information on the sign-in sheet, and you're interested in learning more about the work of the Migrant Accompaniment Network, feel free to leave your information. And otherwise, we'll see you all in about an hour.